you check the children. Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is what
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the horror show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I mean, Fuego here.
And I'm Davey Deathray.
Hi, we didn't even plan that one. They just did it right. Look at that. But we are here, guys. We are back to do our review of the second episode of It, Welcome to Derry. We weren't able to do the watch-along on this channel this week because, frankly, I was really sick yesterday and there was no way I was going to make it through a midnight watch-along. So rather than just me looking as green as this logo on my shirt, I thought it was better to just hold off and we'll just do the review today. I am excited to talk about it, though, because once I finally got to watch it this morning, I really enjoyed this episode. I actually liked it better than the first one because to me, it's like, oh, this is what the show's going to be about. And I really liked that. It's not that I disliked the first episode. As you guys saw in the review, I liked it, but I feel like this was a more solid... It would have been hard to do this as the pilot, but this essentially is kind of the pilot for me, where it's like, this is what's going to be going on this season now. And not only that, but it had, I thought, one fantastic scare scene specifically. The other there was two good ones, but the second one was a bit too machete CGI'd for me. The first one was amazing, though. I loved it, and it was the most It thing that we've seen yet. And that's not even speaking about the eyes specifically. It's just the whole setup felt like very out of the original films, or the original story. I dug the hell out of this one. What about you, Fuego?
Immense improvement. I know I was relatively critical of that previous episode, but this, especially more than anything, I think just got across the creepiness of Derry as a town, just nonchalance of all the people. I mean, even aspects of racism being 1962 and, up in Maine, where you would think, so far up in the north, you're not going to have as much of a saturation like down in the south. But, I mean, just and even the opening, sort of credits that we didn't have in the pilot episode, demented Norman Rockwell sort of thing, showing all the different interlude iterations. I mean, I loved that.
I thought amazing.
And the music as well, about the ribbons in the hair and everything. It was just, it captured that, sweet silliness, but also underlying creepiness of everything. How it's okay, things look one way, but that dark underbelly is another thing. And I actually am liking this new, what seems like our official core of kids at this particular point, significantly better than the retread kids that had some stuff go down with them at the very beginning. Although there was a little bit poked in your theory about because they could be because they
even with all the shit that happened, there are no bodies.
Yep, the parents have nothing to bury, and so I even got some pushback from a few people about like Sharon Beveridge, for instance, was like, but remember, there's always a big inciting incident with tons of deaths and stuff. And I'm like, but that's the inciting major incident, whether it's the ironworks or the mob shootout or Black Spot or whatever. That's one thing. Whereas this one, when it's him very deliberately involved as opposed to almost puppet mastering stuff, that's where the bodies disappear. And sure enough, they disappeared here. So big improvement. I'm officially on board with the show, although it's feeling more so like a different level of the tower, a different turn of the wheel with some of the very original things that they're doing, as Davey asked off camera. Most notably from a military standpoint, I'm not 100% sure where they're going with that. The verdict is not in, but I'm a little uncertain about it, despite liking the characters and the acting. The plotting there is where I'm not necessarily sure if I'm on board for, but we'll get to it. So, Davey, how about you, man?
Yeah, my overall thoughts on this one, I didn't like this episode. I've got to be the dissenting voice here, unfortunately. I was already questioning, have they lost me at this point? Because at least I would say, I felt a lot more engaged in the pilot episode, because they were introducing a lot, but then they gave us that swerve at the end and everything. I felt like in this movie, I'm like, so is the show just going to be people talking to each other? Is that pretty much what we're leaning on? With some, a couple of the scenes there where they do bring in the horror, but I think they keep it pretty, I don't know, kid-friendly, I would say. So it's this TV show that has, adult themes and swearing and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to showing us the goods or something, we're getting some things that like are implied and look pretty cool. You know, little Evil Deadish meets a little Nightmare on Elm Street kind of vibe, but
Elm
not
Street.
really like pushing things. A lot more of the contorted body shaking towards the camera kind of stuff that we've seen before from this franchise. So I was hoping that the horror would actually like tick it up a notch. And then even with the stuff like, you know, it's 1962, of course there's going to be like racial tensions. In this episode, man, they are like, nope, it's not even going to be subtle. This show is going to be about how everyone's trying to screw over the black people in town. At least that's what this episode is saying. So maybe they'll kind of switch it up as the show goes on. But in this episode, I was like, holy crap, that's like, it's all a conspiracy. That's like what they could have called the episode, essentially. And then, yeah, with the military thing, I guess I'm like, oh, so they know that Stranger Things is ending, so now Welcome to Derry is going to be the new Stranger Things. We're going to have kids, we're going to have something supernatural and like dreamscapey, and then we're also going to have a secret government operation. So it seems like the bag of sand that Indiana Jones tries to replace the idol with, but, you know, what happens? You know, the bag of sand is just not the idol, so the whole thing falls to shit. So we'll see how this goes, but I'm already in panic mode. Davey Deathray hates TV and streaming mode. So hopefully they can pick themselves up for episode 3.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first thing I want to say is, like you said, it is 1962, and that is the way things were back then. So, I mean, it would be a part of the story if it was being
Really?
if they acted like it wasn't happening.
Episode 2. It is
but
the story.
but it's setting up everything, right? I mean,
Hopefully, yeah.
It's like that. I don't feel like they're leaning on it. It's just part of the story that would have happened back then. So to ignore it would be, I think, folly in a whole different way. Like acting like that shit didn't happen isn't the way to go either. But
it's very convenient that it's all taking place like a lot in this one episode. So yeah,
that's fair. That's
if
fair.
it's a setup, then that's totally like that. That'll make it worth it in the end. So I'm gonna watch the rest of the episodes. Yeah, you can't judge it just on the one episode for sure.
Well, Davey, I just gotta echo what you were saying about the uncertainty about the military subplot, though, because it is the one thing that I feel like, based on the time period, Red Scare, all that different stuff, does feel like it's being shoehorned in a little bit. And without getting into super spoilers, like especially what they mention, like what they're using Dick Halloran for.
No, I think we can talk spoilers, guys. I mean, no, episode 2 and beyond. We're talking about the episode, so
yeah. Okay. I mean, what they're doing with Dick Halloran is very. They're aware of his ability, obviously, and this is all original for the series. It's feeling very much, once again, like, you know, Castle Rock on Hulu, where they were taking a lot of liberties, playing in the sandbox, and, you know, it's not the same universe as the source material. It's an alternate dimensional whatever thing, which King has been doing for decades in his work. So it's not that out of place, but I still don't think they've really given Dick Halloran enough screen time. They're focusing much more so on the Hanlon family and obviously Ronnie and her father, who, you know, run the theater, and all of the subplots there. But I mean, lots of Easter eggs, you know. I mean, Juniper Hill is where they send Bowers after he sees, you know, the deadlights and everything, and it's mentioned in tons of other Cy King books. So the fact that this Lily character has been there previously, and like, I actually really enjoyed what they were doing with her. I wasn't sure if I was liking her at first in the pilot episode, but I think they're developing her and her just mental instability and how that correlates with just living in Derry pretty well. So I thought that maybe the plotting didn't feel so great in this one at times, but I thought the character expansion and exploration I thought was pretty top notch, at least for me personally. So.
Yeah, and the Dick Halloran stuff, again, they crammed a lot into this episode.
They did.
And like
a lot of
cramming more for adding stuff for Dick might have felt a little too much, you know. So they'll probably get to that. I mean, how could they not when they're making the military thing such a pivotal part and making Dick such a special person, right? So they'll get to it. I guarantee you they will. And really, I'm guessing that for you guys and probably for a lot of people, the military thing is going to entirely depend on whatever the weapon is, right? They're digging for some kind of weapon. And so whatever that reveal is going to be, that has to be something associated with it. Otherwise, like you said, Fuego, it just becomes Castle Rock, but Derryized. You know what I mean? If it's something from one of his other books, like, ooh, fun, okay, but that's not going to serve the story that we're telling the It universe, right? So I'm hopeful that, like, maybe they found its ship or something, and so they can utilize some of its technology or something like that, you know, right? Because it's a space creature.
You see in chapter 2 the crash landing when they're out at their little fort. So
yeah, I mean, I think it definitely could be something like that they're just digging for. And, you know, Dick, obviously with the shine powers, maybe he just got images of some fucking weapon, just not exactly where, you know, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I feel like if it's not something to do with the alien ship, it's gonna be a tough sell to me. Because like, otherwise, why?
Yes.
But so do you guys agree with that? Is it pretty dependent on whatever the weapon ends up being? I'm saying your liking of the army stuff.
It's got to be, like, I would imagine, connected to it, right? Just to make it all kind of tie together. Because it seems like they kind of they have it triangulated, right? They know it's in, like, this certain area because they've got certain, like, beacons set up. But they don't know exactly, but it's like this general thing. I don't know. What if it were Christine? Because in that last scene, they're digging her head in the car. They pull out that Jeep. Yeah, they pull out Christine, and they're like, "That's how we're going to defeat the Kremlin."
Well, Fuego, is there anything from the lore that would fit a car crash or car burial like that?
I mean, since I just watched it, I can't say I recall the type of vehicle that it was. At first, I was wondering if it was from the mob shootout and some of those guys, but the vehicle wouldn't necessarily make sense if it was a Jeep. I don't remember.
It just looked like a Jeep to me.
Did it look like a Jeep? To me, it looked more like a mobster car.
Oh, okay, maybe.
Like an old-timey mobster car.
Yeah, because
I
the
think that
mobster car
fits.
would make complete sense because that would probably be the cycle before, if you go 27 years before that.
And there were 4 bodies in there, so if it was like a shootout or something and they're shooting from the car...
Which is another one of the interlude incidents, you know, probably the one that would be closestly approximated to 62. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, when did the black spot happen?
Black spot was in the 30s, but that's the thing. In the source material, all of these were in different time periods.
No, I know. They'll have to shift, but I'm saying they'll probably try and approximate as best they can. So the black spot will likely happen in next season when they go one step back, right?
Well, I mean, Dick Halloran was at the black spot, though. That's where the story...
Well, he could still be then, too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they could bring him back for season
significantly
2.
Younger. I mean, because he looks like early 40s. He'd still be pretty young, man. So I don't know if that would necessarily work. But,
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you know, I'm just curious. Since you're the lore master.
Yeah, but there's no, aside from that little interlude where, you know, they're at the jazz club, the black spot, there's no military presence that's really described in any sort of depth in the source material.
So yeah, I mean, story-wise, if you guys are watching this, you've probably watched the episode. We don't need to kind of recap everything. So I enjoyed how the story played out. Yes, there are some questions, but that's kind of the way it should be in serialized television. You know, you don't want them to give away everything in, you know, as they reveal a plot point. You don't want that plot point to immediately be resolved, you know, like they have to build. It's just a matter of whether they do it well or whether they do it like Alien Earth. Yeah, so I'm again, the way it played out, starting off with the repeat of the last bit of episode 1, except from her viewpoint, so you saw a little bit more of what happened, including the body hitting the window from this side of it. But yeah, then it's her having a nightmare, and so it's like a couple weeks later. They've already had the funeral for the kids, even though there's no bodies. She is sort of self-tortured while the projectionist daughter is like, she's having her own issues. She's seeing things too, which we'll get to, but. Her dad is under threat from the police and from the town, essentially, that are immediately accusing him of being responsible for the deaths just because he works as the projectionist and he's black.
Searching for a scapegoat, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of what they're playing with, and that the projectionist daughter has to do with the scene that I like the most in this episode, which I want to touch on. which is really awesome. You find out that she clearly her mother's dead because she sees that her father is arguing with his mother, or no, her grandmother. So it must be his wife's mother. And they're like arguing about what to do because, you know, they know that he's probably going to get blamed and stuff. And she overhears it, and she gets caught, and she rushes back and hides, you know, gets in her bed, and they start fighting again. So she pulls the covers over her head. But after like looking longingly at a picture of her mother in a wedding dress, which again, based on what happens in the following scene, where the covers, she is unable to pull them off, and then suddenly like this weird material starts covering her, and it, you know, fluid starts to fill up the space, and eventually she busts her way out of it, and it turns out it was a giant womb, and she turns around, and it's her mother still in the wedding dress, but really nasty looking, you know, dark makeup, not completely shifted yet, but dark makeup. And she basically just tortures her, saying, you know, you ripped me up when you came out. And so one would assume she was killed during childbirth. And so like she's blaming her for her death, you know, which is a very fucking evil Pennywise thing to do. So that I was on board for. And then she's like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, the girl turns around. What is her name? And, I feel bad just calling her Ronnie every time. Ronnie, thank you. So Ronnie turns around, and there's the umbilical cord still attached to the, you know, the orifice that she just shot out of, which, Davey, you said like kid friendly. I don't know what you're talking about with this. Is like very not kid friendly to me. But fair enough, you know, differing opinions and all that. But
it's the second wild birth scene we've seen in this series out of 2 episodes, and it's much more PG-13 than the first one.
That's fair. That's fair. But
I don't know, teeth on like
that's what I'm saying. So the umbilical cord,
I mean,
suddenly the stomach rips open, and a giant mouth full of nasty teeth starts like chomping as the cord, as she's being reeled in by the cord, and I loved that. It like that again, this was very machete CGI, but I think that looked a lot better than the pickle guy did.
God.
pickle face
The pickle guy.
The pickle guy was rough, but
man.
this thing was awesome.
like,
But it was
I-
entirely in the dark. This is a prime example of why CG works in some horror movies. When you keep it in the dark, you keep it, you know, low lit. The CG isn't as apparent.
Yeah.
Same reason you put giant monsters in rain, because it hides CG very well for you. You know what I mean? So when you have the pickle guy in the, you know, fluorescent lighting of a grocery store, it's not going to look great. But again, back to it, she's getting pulled towards the mouth, which is, that was intense. And meanwhile, her mother's visage changes and becomes a lot more nasty and demonic looking, which I loved that look too. And so she basically has to bite through the umbilical cord to free herself. And then, you know, as she gets back to the thing, the mom starts tormenting her again with words, until then we get the thing that Davey hates so much, where she like stands up and does the shake run towards her and just like screams in her face. There's a lot of face screaming with Pennywise, but I still loved that scene so much, because again, the mother taunting her, and then the nightmare bits, and like the final scare before the saving of the, you know, from the dad, like that was so good to me.
I'm trying to remember if he did that sort of approach with Mama at all in that movie with Chastain. That kind of, because it's been a while since I've watched that.
It's in the trailer even. The last shot of the mom, she's way back here, and then.
I do quite like that movie, though. I know you guys.
I only saw it once. No, I liked it.
A lot,
No, I remember liking that movie a lot, but I only saw it once. It had a sad ass ending, if I recall.
Oh yeah.
But
I think this sequence is probably the best one of the episode for me. It was
I think it's the best one
highlight.
of the series so far.
Yeah,
Even
I
above
love
in the last episode with the light and everything. Do you think
that was really cool, but this was much more nightmare fuel to me. Like I thought this was great. Yeah, I loved the lamp. Yes, but this was.
I love lamp.
I love lamp.
I love lamp.
So love lamp.
Are you just looking at things and saying you love
This sequence particularly reminded me of like the stuff I really love. Excuse me, from a series like A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like it just really had that kind of vibe. So I like seeing that, you know, represented in a pretty accurate, fun way. It felt like a lot of it was practical when the sheets have turned
Yeah.
into like the inside of the the womb, and yeah, I dig the Evil Dead kind of. It had a little bit of that feel too, I would say, just with the way the mother looked earlier on.
Yeah.
During it all.
It's been a live vibe to me, if you guys remember.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
That.
There's a whole bunch. Even the chomping bits, I was like, oh, are those like Kreitz teeth? Very like critters.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I really dug that one. Yeah, more so than I liked the idea of being in the grocery store and the walls closing
That
in and
was
all
cool.
that. I really loved all that. I loved playing with the space, and it looked like they were playing with the space live, like they're having people push pieces of the set around.
Dude in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like I loved all of that, and honestly, I was hoping that at the end we were going to get something big. I thought the end was such a whimper in this episode, and granted they do find something kind of grotesque, but nothing really happens with it. It's just like, ooh, we found a car with bodies in it. I'm like, oh come on, like, what else do you got?
Yeah, in some ways, I like the catharsis of her being taken to Juniper Hill more so than how they ended it with the military stuff. I thought that maybe they should have left it with Lily being taken back to the asylum and just had it end with that, because I don't know. Even throughout this discussion, I'm kind of rethinking the military stuff even more so. But after you made the Stranger Things comparison, Davey, that's like, because the time periods and Red Scares and everything, and some of the comparisons there. But yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's the military. It's not a secret organization studying the supernatural kids. It's a military
I just
organization
finished the
looking for
second
a weapon.
season last
So
night on my rewatch, and
it's different enough to me.
It was pretty. Well, I mean, time periods being 20 years removed from each other, right? So
I mean, they're after two completely different things, right? So and one was anyway. Everyone knows the difference between the two. Like, I don't need to explain it.
Let us know in the comments if you
yeah.
think it's too similar.
Yeah, there you go. Please. No, I'm very curious to know everyone's thoughts if they differ from ours in any way, and it seems like they'll have someone to disagree with no matter what on this, on this episode. But yeah, so moving on from that, we did get a lot of the. I would hesitate to, but I guess Davey might call it the heavy-handed racism, where it's woven into every plot thread in this episode. So I think if they might have separated that into two different episodes, it might have felt less like a tidal wave. But it still worked enough for me because it's building the story. Right, that's what that's the thing. You don't want to drag it out too much because you want to be able to get to the next thing, which is the cool shit, right? Like, maybe they think like, this is our story, this is our exposition episode. Obviously, it's what we said is our kind of. It felt more like what the pilot would be, because this is what the show's going to be. So they had to still set up a good amount in that. So I guess I'm a bit more forgiving for all the talkie, as Davey kind of put it. But I mean, really, that's what the original films were too. It was a lot of talkie between the nightmare sequences. Like, they didn't do anything. Like they still were just talking.
Lots of King stuff is very dialogue driven. So I mean,
I think it raises an interesting question. Like, for the folks that are watching the review, jump on down. Like, with the way that they marketed the show, I think that's where a little bit of the the dissonance is coming from, right? Because it's like, of course they have to talk to explain everything, and also to like give it more meat and everything like that. But they were like, welcome to Derry, and there's like Pennywise right there. And I'm not saying we need to see Pennywise in full, but I think that a lot of people, at least when I did the live watch party last night, a lot of people were like, where's Pennywise? When's Pennywise gonna come in here?
People that watched the show said we're not gonna get him until like halfway through the season.
Yeah, I even heard not until the close to the end. So, but I think that's
we got his
where
eyes.
It kind of.
We already saw his eyes.
Yes, we did. We're getting a little bit more every time, it would seem, and I think that's just it's people's expectations, which can be unfair sometimes, but also, like, depending on the marketing, maybe you are swayed to think it's going to be something that it doesn't end up being.
I was about to say, well, you don't get Pennywise for like the first half of the movies either, but that's not true. They open with Pennywise. I was like, maybe they should have opened with Pennywise and then gone to this other stuff. That might have made people happier and would have been, I guess, a bit more in line. So I'm checking myself before I even make that.
I mean,
check yourself before you wreck it.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, the most appropriate use of that saying.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still the allusions to him, right? You know, most notably with the faces, and so that's
Right.
where that's the manifestation that I'm assuming viewers are supposed to just cling to with anticipation before we get like a full reveal. So
I would like to do something with you on Sunday, Fuego, when you come film.
Okay.
I would like to pull, or I would like to go through, see if I can get my hands on just the opening credits, and have you just go through and explain what everything is in that. I think that'd be a good video. People would like that.
Yeah, I mean they
would be
show
cool.
all of the major interludes. I mean,
That's what I'm
because they're-
saying. Like, it'd be cool for
Yeah,
you to
there's all the
explain it.
lumberjacks slicing each other up. There's the mobster shootout. There's the ironworks egg hunt. There's the black spot. I don't think I'm missing any, but you know, those are at least the ones that initially come to mind as the most prolific, and they're all grisly, like mass death sort of situations.
I think
all
that'd
of
be a
them.
good video. I think people would like
Yeah, yeah, because
Tell me in the comments below, guys.
yeah, because there's when the presence reemerges, which is like right around the 27-year mark, and it's like a buildup, and then there's a big inciting incident that happens, and then it kind of simmers down from there.
What was the big
how
inciting
it
incident in 2017? I can't remember.
2017.
Is it Georgie? Like, there's no big
it is
inciting
Georgie.
incident, though, right?
Yeah, nothing is major, and then
In the
as
90 version either,
now-
right? Like,
Well, in 2019, the inciting incident isn't as grandiose either. It's where Adrian Mellon, the queer kid, gets thrown into the river by the
oh, am I misunderstanding?
hate mongers, and
I might be misunderstanding. I thought you were saying there's always a big inciting incident in the town
Well, there
when
wa-
Pennywise
well,
appears.
well, there was leading up, yeah, and that's
So,
where
but that's what I'm
it's a
saying.
little-
Was there not one for the 90 or the 2017 version that we just didn't?
I mean, I don't believe so. Maybe the kids averted it. Is maybe the best guess.
So
that
that's
I would.
okay. Because I also saw a weird comment that said that that group of kids like had the protection of the turtle that the other kids previous didn't, and that's why they were able to defeat him.
That's really deep into the source material.
Oh, so that's
Yeah.
actually from the book.
That is from the book. Yeah.
Interesting. So do you think there's something to the fact that her little turtle charm protected her?
I mean, once again, this is completely new, so it's a different turn of the wheel. So maybe that could be, Maturin, intervening, so to speak. So
Oh, what's it called?
Maturin is the name of the turtle.
Cool.
You know,
I never knew it had a name.
see the turtle of enormous girth on his back. He holds the earth. Yeah, that's Dark Tower deep stuff. So
Interesting.
It's bizarre.
I kinda
like,
dig
Can we
it.
just acknowledge that it's bizarre? I'm not saying good or bad.
It's
No, I agree.
He started that stuff when he was still drugging, so he loved
Yeah.
all of it, and then
He's just riding one day, looks over, he sees a turtle.
Rolling with it,
Oh,
man,
shit, that's great.
As weird as it sounds, I mean,
He wrote
shit.
down that idea after shooting the trailer to Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah.
I'm gonna scare you.
Yeah.
All right. So
King puts himself in the 6th Dark Tower book, so I mean that shows just how wacky it all gets. So yeah.
Okay.
So we kind of brushed over a little bit the grocery store scene, right, where our main girl, what's her name now? I remember
Lily.
Ronnie now, but Lily.
Lily.
Okay,
Yep.
so Lily's at the
Lily.
grocery
Shout
store.
out to Booster Girl. Yeah.
And yeah, Davey, I agree. Like the setup for this scare was a lot better than the scare itself, where like she's just going around and then you see random people sort of popping out just briefly, but with a big smile, and then yeah, when she turns down an aisle, suddenly a wall like sort of closes behind her, and until it's just down to like one little square area where she has the Pickle Man confrontation. Who is her father, right? We're calling him Pickle Man, but he's supposed to be her dead dad. Which what was his fate again? How did he get killed? Because I assume his body
I
being
don't
chopped
recall.
up was part of
Right
how he
off.
died. Like so it had to be in some crazy violent accident because his face wouldn't be trisected if he hadn't been destroyed that way. So
They
I'm
talked
sure
about it in the
eventually-
first episode, didn't they?
I get, but I can't remember what it
yeah,
was.
I just can't. Yeah, I can't recall either. But
I
yeah,
thought. Sorry,
Dave.
go ahead, Fuego.
No, that's all you meant.
I was just gonna say, I felt like the pickle thing. I was like, man, you're already like it. It looked like a bad version of the lamp, and so I was like, you're already kind of rehashing
That's
this
true.
effect that worked well in the first episode. It just looks so similar, but yeah, not nearly as good. And yeah, I really like the idea of like Pennywise lurking in the background. I felt like in the chapter 1 they did a really good job of that with the bigger kid in the library. having the old lady kind of be spying on him, and I really dug that they brought that back in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Really great setup here. Love the look and everything. Really dig like where the nightmares are going. I just really wish they had a payoff that was a bit more like, I don't know, horror, and he just kind of turns into a slug monster. Somebody said in the comment section, they're like, Andy Muschietti's next movie is gonna be called Giant CGI Worm Man. And I'm like, yeah, fair.
Unfortunately, his next movie is going to be called Brave and the Bold, but we'll lament that another day.
I still kind of felt there was a lot of goofiness in 2017, though. I mean, even the look of the leper, I thought was just kind of played a little more on the silly side. And then
I liked him, but
God forbid, in Chapter 2, the barf scene, which is, I mean, it's pure camp. Obviously, I felt like I was watching like an early Peter Jackson movie or something.
As a Sandlot fan, I didn't mind it.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. But I actually like the sequence in the grocery store. Not so much because I'm being forgiving of the CGI and everything, but I like the setup of the fact that when Grandpa Bowers, the chief of police, kind of baits her into throwing the dad of Ronnie under the bus, and then you realize that she has previously been in Juniper Hill. She's been in the asylum before, and he's like, well, we'll send you back if you don't. And even when she's walking through the grocery store, there were those little murmurings of like, you're crazy, this and that. So it's like, is this Pennywise or is she nuts? Is it somewhere in between? And I like that setup and, delivery. And also with taking her back up there to Juniper, I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of other Easter eggs because, Juniper Hill has been mentioned in Needful Things, Insomnia, The Dark Half, like, it's like right up there with Shawshank as far as stuff in the proximity of Derry and Castle Rock that gets a lot of mentions.
I half expected him when he said, I got that telescope from the shop down the street. It's called like Needful something. I was half expecting that, but it's in Castle Rock, not in Derry, right?
Yeah, and that would be more time period alteration, but I wouldn't put it past them at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they'd care, but
it can all be explained by turtles. I love the guy I was like, oh, I know the guy in the loudspeaker is going to like start saying some twisted shit here pretty soon. Like I was very much looking forward to that. I dug how they handled that as well. That was pretty cool. And before I forget, man, the costume design in this whole television show, I mean, the production value and design is awesome, but
HBO,
man, the costumes, the woman, Hanlon's wife, like her outfits, I was like, oh my God, I know nothing about this world, but like she looks awesome. I love these outfits. And I do want to say, I think the needle drops on the music, I'm really digging the soundtrack picks, including the theme song, which I don't know if it may be a new song. I don't think I've ever heard it before, but it fits right into all of that stuff. But on the other side of that coin, I will say, I think the score in a lot of parts isn't really fitting the vibe and the 60s, and there's something about the score that I don't know what it is, it just seems like it belongs in a more modern time, and like part of me wishes they would try something that was a little more old school with the score. I don't know.
I can't say I bumped into that at all, but fair enough, we're all different.
Yeah. I mean, back to the needle drops though, I even love the end credits and Beware the Boogeyman, whereas on like, because you guys correct about Alien Earth, like I hated the rock metal needle drops at the end of those episodes.
Sure,
It just didn't feel like it fit Alien,
No.
And I was just like, oh, we're trying to appeal to a certain age group, demographic, whatever, which is fine, I guess. But here, I thought they were very period appropriate. And the Beware the Boogeyman, I actually went back up to listen to the rest of the credits because I wanted to, hear the rest of the song. And then they do have, as HBO all too often does, those great little behind the scenes bits. They interview Barbara and Andy after the episode and gave some insight about why they went so nuts at the end of the first episode, trying to set a precedent for no one is safe and everything. So I don't know. I was so like down on the first episode, and this one has kind of won me back in a lot of ways. So, but I mean, art is subjective, obviously. If Davey wasn't vibing this one too much, so.
Well, yeah. I mean, the only other thing I kind of wanted to ask you, Fuego, is when Halloran's wife is out and she helps that one kid, and then like all the town is like fucking weird. Is that because they're all like Pennywise? Not they're all Pennywise, but they're all Pennywise affected, or is that like?
Kind of like what they it's like kind of like what they stole in Halloween Ends, where the whole town is like just covered with this almost like, I don't know, like contagious, like fear, evil, so to speak. Like Derry is more than just the entity that takes upon itself the guise of Pennywise. At times, it's like just kind of a like infection throughout the entirety of the town, and so that's why you see just the turning of the blind eye to some of the violence. That's why you see just, I don't know, just that like an all-out weirdness, which we saw in 2017. The fact that there is just this odd indifference about the town. There is concern, but not like to the degree that you would think for so many missing children. Like, you know, nothing wrong here, like that.
But
sort of thing.
that's why this felt odd to me compared to that, because this felt very pointed, where like they're all like looking at her and they're playing this weird sound sting as though
I mean,
they're like
playing
being
it up
controlled.
for sure.
Because the fact that they just ignore because they don't see. And they just don't realize, that's different than like actively looking evil when someone's trying to do good. So I was a bit that I bumped into a tiny bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the source material, there is a presumed cognizance of it that ties to deliberate disregard.
Interesting. Okay.
That's so, and I think that's one of the reasons why with the incident at the theater, you know, when the police officer gets confronted at the bar for having a drink off the clock, I was like, well, at least he's off the clock. The guy is basically like, you better do something about this because like we don't stand for this in Derry. And I'm like, y'all are like really messed up and you have supernatural evil in your town. So like now all of a sudden you're like, you better make an arrest, like just cuz arrest this person. It's like, but weird, crazy, tragic shit always happens in your town. Like it doesn't seem like you guys are very active about this.
Yeah,
but now you are.
And that's the thing, cognizance but deliberate disregard, you know, because that infection has kind of clouded, I guess, the rationale amongst all of these people. So that's at least back to the source material, and I felt like they got it moderately across in the miniseries and maybe a little bit better in 17 and 19, but they are definitely like cranking it up in this one about just DGAF, like whatever, you know, it's, you know, our family being safe is the only thing that matters. Everybody else is just, you know, kind of whatever. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, any other final thoughts on it? That was the last thing that I wanted to hit on.
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
I mean, I'm in it to win it. You know, again, with the TV series, it's tough to judge it just after 2 episodes. So it'll be a lot easier once we're all done to like look back and you know, and see if it really planned out in a way that we like, or played out in a way that we liked it, you know, similar to Alien Earth. Like the first few episodes or 2 episodes had me in that one. And then this one, you know, I guess we'll just see what the next one brings. I do want a little more action in the next episode since this one was a little bit more of a think piece. But yeah,
a lot more character driven for sure. You know, getting you much more acquainted with Hanlon's family, some of these new characters like the little band kid who, from what they were saying,
that kid was cracking me up.
Stuff, in the post BTS stuff, they're saying that he's a Cuban kid, and so it's going to be the whole, you know, little wrinkle that they showed about, you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis that was about to happen and everything, and how suspicion of, you know, kids of his race as well. So they are definitely playing the race card here pretty heavily, but I kind of think based on the time period, it's understandable.
Now, Fuego, one other thing actually, what is the Native American tribe that sort of?
I was really wondering about that. So I believe it's the Micmacs, if I recall.
Okay, so is that who we're supposed to think that that's the more? That's the more like updated.
And yet there was a white kid with them too, so I wasn't really too sure. They're obviously going to expand upon that in coming episodes, and from what I understand from at least the outline of these 3 seasons that Andy and Barbara want to do, they want to eventually go all the way back to the natives who were the first to encounter,
that's cool,
you know, this otherworldly creature that takes on the guise of Pennywise.
I kind of got the vibe that the shop owner also is a part of the tribe just based on her costuming.
Yeah, possibly.
So,
yeah.
Oh my, that was an odd, that performance. I was like, has this woman ever acted in anything? Because she seemed very stiff playing opposite the other actress that I've seen in other things and seems a lot more comfortable performing. I did notice though, you guys had brought up the native connection. There was I don't know if it's like a coffee can or whatever it is from The Shining pops up in the grocery store when Lily's walking around. Did you guys see that? The native with the headdress on it?
Oh. No, I didn't.
Did you guys notice that? Like, I was like, oh, that's from The Shining, because Kubrick purposely had them all facing one way in one shot, and then when they cut back to them, there's like one can facing the other way, just to sort of mess with the audience. So when I saw that in the shop, I was like, oh, nice little homage to The Shining there.
That's cool. I definitely didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. Now, just to piggyback as we're ending what Davey was saying, though, is that when you have a first few episodes that either like enthrall you or just kind of turn you off a little bit, it's different when you can go back and look at it from its entirety, because like the second season of Castle Rock, I was vibing it a little bit more so than the first one, but then when I went back and revisited it as a whole, like Lizzie Kaplan as the young Annie Wilkes is fucking gangster in that show, and so tremendous, and really, I mean, is kind of the centerpiece performance in a lot of ways. So once we get to the end, maybe when you see it as like an entirety as opposed to just like, you know, little blips here and there, I don't know. I mean, the verdict is always out till you can see the entirety of it, as opposed to, you know.
Yeah, it'll give you context on the previous episodes.
Totally.
For sure.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Castle Rock, Davey? Either of those 2 seasons?
I have not. No, I haven't seen that one. Maybe I should go back and catch up with it. I do like Lizzie Kaplan.
You can watch the second season. I would skip the first.
Okay.
Yeah, first was, I mean, aside from the Red Queen episode with Sissy Spacek, which was really great, everything else is just, anyway. So.
All right, I think that's going to do it for our discussion of It Chapter 2, or excuse me, It Welcome to Derry, Episode 2.
Yes.
So thank you guys very much for watching, especially if you've watched up to this point. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts, any and all thoughts on the episode, spoiler or not. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
Go watch Begonia. I'm Jaime and Fuego.
And I've been Davey Deathray.
And remember, guys, stay scared.
Stay scared.